But you talk about the trio of Garrett Williams, Max Melton, who very much looked the part last year, was asked to be on an island, especially when Sean Murphy-Bunting was out. And then now Will Johnson, who we all assume is going to be a tremendous player, assuming he can stay healthy. Should have been a first rounder, like a top 20 pick, and you get him in the 40s. I mean, that's as good as it gets. Continued position preview as we break down the Arizona Cardinals piece by piece, player by player. And today we're looking at the defensive back group, which I would argue, specifically corner, has taken the most kind of facelift over the course of the 3 years under Austin Ford and Gannon.
They continue to invest heavily in the drafts at this position. I mean, it started off with Garrett Williams. They took him in the 3rd round. They didn't stop there. I mean, this was a team that was just flush with top 100 picks, and they take Max Melton in the 2nd round, Elijah Jones in the 3rd round. They don't stop there. They take Will Johnson in the 2nd round, and then they take Denzel Burke in the 5th round. They add Jaden Davis the previous draft to that. Like, they just can't help themselves. They just are accumulating all the defensive backs because they know that their coaching staff knows how to mold them, develop them. And is this the year that they take a monumental jump? I mean, they're going to get aided potentially by a revamped front 7, but these were guys that were ball hawks in college. I think I saw between Max Melton and Will Johnson, they had 17 picks combined in the Big Ten. You know, are they going to be able to translate that to the next level? And I'd say the time is now. You get the steady play from Garrett Williams in the slot, and then you look to the outside as we preview things. You know, there's going to be a position battle for those 2 spots to start, and I think they've got some really viable options.
To me, this group has maybe the biggest upside of any group not named the defensive tackle group because of the athletes, because of who's coaching them. And again, like, I watched this team trot out, with all due respect, like Keitrell Clark and Antonio Hamilton and Starling Thomas, and like, those players didn't embarrass themselves in 2023. And we know they didn't have a pass rush to work off of. Now it's like you have inserted in 3 off seasons 3 high-level defensive back prospects. With all due, like, we had Denzel Burke on the show. I think he's going to contribute, right? Elijah Jones, wild card. But you talk about the trio of Garrett Williams, Max Melton, who very much looked the part last year, was asked to be on an island, especially when Sean Murphy-Bunting was out. And then now Will Johnson, who we all assume is going to be a tremendous player, assuming he can stay healthy. Should have been a first rounder, like a top 20 pick, and you get him in the 40s. I mean, that's as good as it gets. And it's a position group. Like, I am not like Mr. Rah-Rah, get a corner early. I like line of scrimmage first and then develop. But we would be hard pressed. Like, you think about Garrett Williams was a flyer pick at the beginning of the 3rd round, stash and play when ready. Max Melton was a part of a run on corners in the 2nd round of last year where it felt like that was the time to get it, right? Not risk a corner pick ahead of Marv, of course, and Darius Robinson. So I like the sweet spot there. And then who can argue the value this year? I mean, like, there was no corner worthy of the 16th overall pick, and then you get what could be the best corner in the draft in the 2nd round. I would argue the value on all 3 of these picks is fantastic. I would give A for Garrett and Will Johnson, and I would give B to B+ for Max Melton's value.
Yeah, you put him in this system and what it could be, man. I mean, it really could be something. I missed who the person who put it in the chat, Noah. He featured it here, just saying it's a young man's position.
Yeah.
EBEG. I mean, it is. It absolutely is. I would much rather have this group, which is relatively unknown, especially nationally, than what the Steelers are going to march out come September, where you got Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey, and you got their AARP cards both together at the same time. They went to the office together to make sure that they could lock it in. It is the shelf life of being a productive corner in this league is so small.
Yeah,
it really is. Even when you think about the greats, like, that's what separated like Revis from everybody else, is because he did it, you know, at a high clip for a long time. But you think about it, even like Patrick Peterson, like, the shelf life relative to other positions, it's not long, and because you lose a half a step and you're toast each and every Sunday. So they've got some young, athletic, lengthy corners that I think project to be kind of menaces to opposing offenses at the next level. Let's take a look at the corner group right now, Noah. We got the guys, and this is who we're projecting as our starters, Johnny.
Yeah.
Will Johnson getting the nod.
Hello.
Is 40, what was it, 47th overall.
Yeah.
I was looking, just kind of doing some research. PFF had him as their 14th best prospect.
Is that good?
It seems pretty good value when you're getting them at 47. Walter Nolan was 7th. Will Johnson was 7 spots lower at 14th. You get those guys at 16 and 47, respectively. We look at, an injury-plagued final season at Michigan, 76.7 coverage grade, 2 picks, 2 pass breakups. Oh, by the way, those 2 picks were both housed for pick 6s.
He is everything you want. And if that knee holds up, it's going to be the steal of the draft. We've said that on our broadcast. It was an A draft for us. There was no scenario in which I thought they could get Walter Nolan and Will Johnson, and they did. And they did not give up any future draft capital to do it. Garrett Williams, who we're going to hear from, is the most slept-on corner, one of the most slept-on defensive players in the NFL. It's laughable. He's not included in the 33rd team's top 25 under 25. We broke that down yesterday. These defensive backs, like Melton Williams, Starling Thomas, they have been held back by this front seven that no longer sports the likes of, with all due respect, Victor Dumakaji and Dennis Gardeck, and Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols being asked to play meaningful snaps. They're going to be eating good. Will Johnson's going to have a pick 6 this year. I think Garrett Williams could have 5+ interceptions. This group, to me, this is the biggest benefactor of what the Cardinals did this offseason. And I'm going to tell you right now, like Sean Murphy-Bunting, I don't want to bang on a guy because he's injured. He really hurt himself because what he showed last year, he's a liability at times in coverage. He could take the football away. He was the only one who had interceptions last year. Sean Murphy-Bunting, with a thriving front seven, probably could have made himself more money. Maybe could have pivoted it to another contract eventually. Really unfortunate. I think his loss is Will Johnson's gain. I think Will Johnson will establish himself. I think it will be early in camp, assuming he can stay healthy. Hell, he still hasn't signed his contract yet, along with most of the second round. This is a young man that has an opportunity to come in and be the best young defensive back the Cardinals have had in training camp since 2013, with a little DB called Honey Badger dominating training camp. There's so many similarities to that, not in terms of like why they fell, but just the caliber of prospect that fell into your lap. And it's like, oh shit, this is one of the best players on the flipping team.
Yeah, I mean, just an absolute ball hawk. And you look at Max Melton, you don't want to get him kind of lost in the shuffle here. You look at it kind of a real under-the-radar rookie season where he had to vie for playing time. And down the stretch, after week 4, he was a guy that was playing, seeing defensive snaps, at the very end of the season that he had to kind of fight for early on. The 33rd team said since week 9, he allowed just a 41.2% completion percentage, just 4.4 yards per target, and just a 54, nearly 55 passer rating when targeting Max Melton. So some really decent, tape that he put on display after week 9 in the NFL season last year.
Can I just say something? Like Will Johnson projects as a number 1 corner that likely will go against number 1 receivers. How much better is Max Melton now that he wouldn't necessarily have to face everybody's number 1? I think Max Melton is as your high-end number 2 corner going against the slop of teams 2 and 3 cornerbacks or wide receivers, excuse me. Like if somebody's best wideout is your slot and their second best wideout goes to Will Johnson, then Max Melton gets somebody who might not be very good. And you feel pretty good about that. Max Melton against, I don't know, Juwan Jennings in San Francisco. Max Melton against whomever the hell, the Seahawks are trotting out now at wide receiver 3. I couldn't even tell you. They've got 2 underneath slot receivers.
Bobo? I don't know. Is it MVS? Somebody.
Sign me up for that. You said it. It's a young man's game. The worst contracts in the NFL via overthecap.com at the cornerback position are guys who are over 27 years old. You lose that step, as you mentioned it, Bo, in an instant. Old and slow, banged up. That's what we always talk about. Like, he's 28. Can he move to safety? How many times do we say that about Patrick Peterson?
Right.
Move him to free safety, right? It's like all these corners are 25 and under. I mean, Garrett Williams in particular. We talked about Paris the other day in our offensive tackle, offensive line breakdown. Garrett Williams is going to get paid a ton of money. And it sets up really well because Will Johnson's contract just started. Max Melton's 1 year into his. By the time, if you sign Garrett Williams to big money, by the time maybe he's ending that contract, then the other guys are ready to get paid, right? And then the cycle just continues. So thank God for competent team building. This is a unit that for so long, can anybody take a guess how many first and second round picks Steve Keim spent on cornerbacks? I'm just going to leave this up to the group. In 10 drafts, 10 drafts, how many first and second round picks did he use at corner? Anybody know?
The answer 1?
No, do you know it?
I'm just going to go with 0.
Do you know it, Bo?
I think Byron Murphy, right?
It's 1. Yeah. Byron Murphy. It's unbelievable. In 10 drafts, 1 corner in the first and second round. It's unfathomable. They are so bad. Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie was drafted by Rod Graves.
Yeah.
Byron Murphy.
It was Pat Pete. Yeah.
And you made an argument Byron Murphy was the wrong pick over flipping all those wideouts that are available, but that's another conversation. Gannon and Ossenfort come in, they're like, yeah, every year we're going to take one in the middle round and we're going to be fine.
Yeah. And you'll see it like as we've got just our overall look at here. And like if you think that Will Johnson and Max Melton are just going to be gifted the starting spot, you would be wrong. I mean, I think Starling Thomas V is somebody that's not going to allow that to go down without a fight. Like this is one of the most competitive guys in the DB room. Talking to Garrett Williams today, he reminded us how much of a leader Star is. So Starling Thomas might not get the nod as a starter, but I think he's going to play valuable snaps for this team. If he doesn't outright win the game, as much as I want to win the spot, I want to see, the back-to-back second-round picks in the starting lineup. Might not happen because, the guy that they picked up right before the start of the 2023 season has developed and continues to be just one of their more consistent players. Elijah Jones, saw his name mentioned in the chat. A lot of upside there. Good length, good size, good athleticism. Out of Boston College, but was robbed due to a foot problem his rookie season, basically a medical red shirt his rookie year. Elijah Jones, we'll see what he's got come training camp. And then you've got, Keitrell Clark is a depth piece. We got him red here. I think he's on the chopping block. It's going to be, tough for him to carve out a role for himself on this team. And then Denzel Burke, this year's 5th round pick, really productive at Ohio State, played a big role as far as the national title team and somebody that I think they envision, having a role with this organization in the future. And then we've got the big loss. All right, we'll see. Sean Murphy-Bunting, not going to be available this season for the Cardinals, and probably it's one and done for him with the organization.
I would feel comfortable having any of those backup corners play meaningful snaps in a pinch. And I have not seen Denzel Burke play any pro football, and Elijah Jones missed time last year. Elijah Jones played at Florida State and was a top 100 pick. You don't think he can play? Starling Thomas and Keitrell Clark are the veterans of the room. They've been in this system, played in almost every game for 3 years. This will be their 3rd year, so for 2 years. And then Denzel Burke was on one of the most dominant units in college football for almost half a decade. He's played a ton of football. Now, he will likely make his money as a special teamer, but we asked him, he sat with us in studio a month ago and told us, he's like, I'm playing outside corner. So game on. I'm excited. This group, it's a breath of fresh air. It's not old, slow, practice squad level guys. Just this defense now. The offense is what it is. This defense has been so underserved with talent, and now you really feel like they're going to make the most of it with Rollis and company.